Okay, so when I say the word tetanus, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably a rusty nail, right? Well, the real story is so much more fascinating than that. It's not about the rust, and it's not even really about the bacteria itself. This is a story about a microscopic weapon that turns your own body against you in a complete takeover of your nervous system.
So here's the big question, right? How does this tiny little organism, one that can't even move from the site of an injury, manage to hijack your body's central command? Well, the answer lies in the toxin it creates, which is basically a masterpiece of biological warfare.
All right, to get to the bottom of this heist, we've got to meet the mastermind. And our story starts with this one bacterium that has, well, a pretty unique look.
So, say hello to Clostridium tetani. And the first thing you notice, I mean, you can't miss it, is that shape. See that little round spore at the end? It gives it the look of a tiny little drumstick. It's a small thing, but it kind of makes this microscopic baddie pretty unforgettable, don't you think? Okay, but here's where it gets kind of weird. This bacterium is literally everywhere. We're talking soil, dust, even in our own bodies. But get this, it's also non-invasive. That means it just hangs out right where it first got in. So if it's so common and, frankly, so lazy, how on earth is it so dangerous? Well, the bacterium itself might not move around much, but man, is it an opportunist. All it's looking for is a way in, and a very particular kind of environment to start its work.
So let's just bust that rusty nail myth once and for all. The rust has nothing to do with tetanus. Zero. The real danger is the C. tetani bacteria that's just chilling in the soil and dust on the nail. The nail itself, it's just the delivery vehicle. It provides that deep, low-oxygen wound, the absolute perfect little home for this anaerobic microbe.
And it doesn't have to be some dramatic, deep puncture wound either. This thing can get in through almost anything. A simple scrape, a bigger injury, even unhygienic medical stuff. The key thing here is just the contamination. Any break in the skin is an open door. Now, this is super important to understand. You can't catch tetanus from another person. It's not infectious that way. The entire battle is just between you and the toxin that's being produced by the bacteria inside your own body. This isn't like a cold, it's a personal internal assault. Okay, so this is where we get to the real aha moment of this whole story. The bacteria, that's just the factory. The real weapon, that's what it produces. This slide just lays it all out perfectly. Look on the left, you've got the bacteria. It stays put, chilling at the wound site, totally localized. But then look on the right. That's its product, tetanospasmin. This is the neurotoxin. This is the bad guy. It leaves the factory and goes on this crazy journey straight to your central nervous system. So how does it actually do it? How does this toxin pull off this incredible heist? How does it get from, say, a cut on your foot all the way up to the command centers in your spinal cord? Well, it turns out it has a very specific and pretty sinister four-step plan. It's a four-step attack, simple but devastating. First, it binds. It latches on. Second, it gets transported. Third, it starts sabotaging the communication lines. And the outcome? Well, it's just total uncontrolled chaos in your muscles. Let's break down exactly how each step works. Okay, step one, binding. This first move is all about finding the right target. The toxin isn't just floating around hoping for the best. Nope, it's specifically hunting for these receptors on your motor nerve endings. It's like it has a key, and your nerve cells have the perfect lock. And once it binds, it's in. Now, this next part is just mind-blowing. Instead of going with the normal flow of nerve signals, the toxin travels backwards. This is a process called retrograde transport, and it basically means it's going the wrong way up a one-way street. It hijacks your body's own internal highway system to get from that little wound all the way up to the CNS. So we're at step 3, and this is the act of sabotage. When the toxin finally arrives at the synapse, that's the little gap where nerves talk to each other, it doesn't actually destroy anything. Instead, it just acts like a roadblock. It specifically stops the release of two things, GABA and glycine. You can just think of these as your body's natural off switches, the signals that tell your muscles, hey, chill out, relax. So what happens when you take away the stop signals? What happens to any system when you remove its brakes? Well, you get nothing but uncontrolled acceleration. And in the human body, that looks pretty terrifying. And this is the result. This is what the experts call spastic paralysis. Now, this isn't the kind of paralysis you might be thinking of, where you can't move at all. No, this is the exact opposite.
It's where your muscles can't stop moving. They get locked into these constant, agonizing contractions. Honestly, the car analogy is the absolute best way to picture this. Your nervous system is a car, right? You've got go signals, the accelerator, and stop signals, the brakes. The tetanus toxin finds the brake lines, which are GABA and glycine, and it just cuts them. All you're left with is the accelerator permanently slammed to the floor. So why lockjaw? Why is that the most famous name for this? Well, it's actually just simple logistics. The nerves in your jaw and your face have a much shorter trip to the central nervous system compared to, say, the nerves in your leg. So the toxin just gets there faster, and those are usually the first muscles to lock up.
And to see the just absolutely devastating real-world impact of this, you just have to look at something called neonatal tetanus. In newborns, it's often called the 8th-day disease. Why? Because that's about how long it takes, about a week after birth, for the toxin to make its journey and for the horrific symptoms to start. It's a truly tragic consequence of this whole biological process.
So let's just recap this wild story. A bacterium that can't even move unleashes this microscopic missile, a toxin that travels backwards up our nerves to cut the brake lines of our entire nervous system. It's a stunning and frankly a humbling reminder of how our own biology works. All these complex systems that keep us alive are operating on this incredibly delicate balance where blocking just one tiny signal can lead to total system failure. It really shows you how intricate and how fragile we really are.